This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Well, you see, the Christmas season in many cultures around the world is not yet over. That ends for many people on January 6th, a few days from now, on the Epiphany, the feast of the arrival of the wise men, thus we three kings. For our guests from Baptist Housing and ShannonOaks, we have ShawnWilson and Gillian Fullerton on this episode of Boomer Life here on CIL 650, ShannonOaks, Vancouver. And if you go to ShannonOaks.com to check it out on the website, and I do encourage you to do that, you go to ShannonOaks.com and you get choices. You get Vancouver or Victoria. And you can click on either and just have a good look at both installations. Let's talk about Victoria, though, because Gillian and I talk mostly about ShannonOaks, Vancouver, and I think your friend Leo Martin over there in Victoria would appreciate a little more airtime.
Oh, Leo's great.
So let's talk about ShannonOaks, Victoria.
Yeah.
On Goldsmith Street in Oak Bay.
That's right, on Goldsmith Street in Oak Bay, and Leo Martin is the marketing manager there. He's a wonderful man, been in the industry for a number of years. Craig Reed is the administrator there. Both wonderful gentlemen who will welcome you warmly. And I do encourage you to sit down and have lunch there with them when you're doing a tour.
Right.
Because Michael is the sort of the restaurant manager, shall I say, but he is so accommodating and so friendly. The trio of gentlemen will absolutely wow you.
Okay.
Yeah, they're very impressive. And ShannonOaks Victoria, ShannonOaks Oak Bay, is very much of the same model as ShannonOaks Vancouver.
Well, I was just about to ask you that because now ShannonOaks Vancouver, we've already learned with the Clarendon Court add-on, offers two levels of community retirement community living, independent and assisted. What about ShannonOaks Victoria? How many options are there?
Yeah, they've got options there as well with the adjacent Marion Village.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's definitely options, and totally wholeheartedly agree with what Gillian said. The guys over there are fantastic, and I know Craig, the administrator there, he's been with Baptist Housing, I think he's coming up on 20 years now. So we're talking about 20 steadfast years with the same organization. He loves what he does. He's great at what he does. Very welcoming. Same arts and crafts styled building as ShannonOaks Vancouver.
Right.
And I believe they have about 100 suites
They have 100 suites, and they're right across from a big grocery store, so you've got all of that there, a little shopping you can do, which is very convenient.
Beautiful part of Victoria.
If Victoria has 100 suites, what does ShannonOaks Vancouver have numerically?
145.
Okay, so slightly larger.
Yes.
About half again as large.
That's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
we only tease that we're bigger and better. I think the better is something we share with Oak Bay.
That's a good point.
Okay.
Good point.
This is a time of year. It's just New Year's weekend here, and many people are still kind of on tenterhooks and turn that radio down. It's so loud. No, it's not. It really isn't loud. We're still at that point in the holiday season. But, you know, Shawn, you mentioned over a glass of water during our commercial time out here that this is a time of year when people visit. People come home from, we scatter. Our families, our parents are both in Ontario. We've scattered to the west, and your children are in the United States, for goodness sake, Gillian. Our families scatter. So wherever possible, especially at holiday time, we love to come home and reconnect. And in a lot of cases, Shawn, people come home who haven't seen mom or dad, or if they're really lucky, both, for quite some time, maybe since the summer when they were back with the kids.
That's right.
And it's been 6 months. And they come home and, gee, you know, things just, it's not the same. They seem to be losing a step.
That's right, and it's especially noticeable if you've only been in the picture for the once or twice or three times a year.
Yes.
You'll see a stark depreciation in their condition. And so we're actually super busy heading into this month with just responsible adult boomer kids that have acknowledged that, wow, when I visited Mom over Christmas, she's not doing well. She's very isolated. The fridge is either empty or it's filled with expired foods.
Yeah, science experiments.
Yeah, you know, and it's quite common for us to really have busy months of Januaries. And that, like I say, that's just the caring kids looking for a way to provide something better, more dignity, get Mom out of the isolation that she experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, your visit was great, and maybe you had a place to stay. You're able to sleep in your old bedroom again, but I think that the responsible kids no longer have that no news is good news approach, but they actually take action and have a conversation with mom. They do some research prior to maybe having the conversation with mom to say, you know, Mom, I love you too much to let you stay in this home all by yourself in an unhealthy situation. And I'm quite frankly, with my mom, it's always been a challenge. I'll catch wind of this bill for a new roof. I think to myself, Mom, you only had a new roof about 9 years ago.
Right.
So you're paying how many thousands of dollars? So there's that kind of bilking that could go on in a loved one's case. And so we will anticipate that we'll get a lot of traffic coming through, people checking us out, and to Jillian's point, love for them to come for a complimentary lunch or even a complimentary trial stay.
Exactly.
To kind of immerse themselves in the beautiful community that we have. And I'll tell you, I've yet to find a resident that hasn't said, so I'll go with the stat of 100% of our residents say they wish they moved in sooner.
Yeah, I believe that. I've heard them say that. They've said that to me while visiting ShannonOaks. And some of them, of course, have made appearances here on the radio. And they're universal on this. They all agree. The only regret is, you know, I just wish I'd come here earlier.
That's so
and
true,
had even more fun.
Yeah. We have some of our residents that just are so keen on the place that when Kirsten Allenberg, who's the marketing manager at ShannonOaks, and if she and I are doing a tour or something like that, we just step back because the residents take over.
Right.
I mean, it's like we don't have a job. We brought some residents in for a concert we were having, and it was a lovely concert. The place was filled, so we sat them next to some residents, and Kirsten and I stood because it was packed. So, but the residents, we went to pick up the prospects later, and the resident says, no. We're taking them up to our suites.
Okay.
And so they took over and they just did everything. And that was just fine. They showed them their suites. They talked to them about ShannonOaks.
So friendly.
Yeah.
They're so friendly. They'll come up to you in a tour and say, when are you moving in, dear? When are you moving in? You know, you'll love it here. You'll really love it. You know, it's just so friendly. Oh, you'll meet so many people, and we'd love to have you here.
Well, you know, this is Boomer Life. And, Shawn, speaking to your point about conscientious Boomer kids, and I love the fact that we still get to call ourselves kids because we still are somebody's kids. I mean, we're in our 50s and 60s,
That's
but,
right.
you know, we're Boomer kids.
That's right.
And we're just trying to do the right thing for Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
And so how do you start? Particularly if you know you're going to get a bit of a fight here. This is not going to be something you can have a civilized conversation and very intellectually lay out the argument and have someone agree at the end of a considerable discussion. You know you're going to say, how about this? And you're going to get, forget about it, or something equal. So where do you start and how?
What I would do is I would do a little bit of research of my own, first of all. So go and do the first cut. Go and see a number of them. And I wouldn't just see one, I would see a number of them.
A number of retirement communities.
A number of retirement communities.
All right.
I have no hesitation. And
kick the tires, right?
Yes, and just get all the brochures from them and then think, okay, what would Mom like? And maybe come to her and say, listen, Mom, you know so-and-so. If they know somebody in the community, it's wonderful.
Sure.
Last month we had a lady tour. As I toured her, she was pointing out people she knew and this and this. It was like old home week. So that's wonderful. But just invite Mom in for a lunch.
So
come and have a lunch.
Do that Boomer kid should be doing the research, check out some communities.
And because we are so concerned, and you're absolutely right, Shawn, we are committed to doing the right thing. The bottom line is we want to make sure Mom is safe.
Yeah. And
more than anything else, that's where the peace of mind kicks in on both sides of the generational divide.
That's right. And so do your research so that you can at least address some of her or his preliminary questions that they'll grill you with upon first hearing of it. The thing with a retirement community of sorts is, you're right, safety is paramount. So we have an emergency pendant system for all of our residents.
Right.
If they are ever in need of any kind of emergency response, they press their pendant. We arrive within a couple of minutes and see to their concerns. So we've tackled that issue. Talk about Mom's nutrition. Well, we have, of course, Canada Food Guide meals every day. Healthy source of intake for them. all provided. Talk about social isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the predominant reason why one has decline in their health and abilities, because, well, what's there left to live for?
They're not mixing it up with the folks anymore.
There's still lots to mix it up with, and they would be in a community with their peers. So the things that maybe you or I don't have in common with mom or dad, well, I'm talking about a whole community of people that have those things in common.
Sure.
So it only brings joy and meaning to their, degree of enjoyment of life.
They share the same history. They're all approximately around the same age group. They may be from different cultures, and that's quite interesting
It's
too.
enriching.
To see that mix.
Exactly.
Oh
yeah,
entirely.
And fun.
But what I'm glad that Shawn mentioned in his last talk, he said he. So it's not just she.
That's
it's not
true.
just mom. It's dad as well.
Absolutely.
And we cannot forget that men also suffer from social isolation.
Mm-hmm.
The camaraderie of men at ShannonOaks is wonderful to see. They'll sit down and share meals, and they love their own company. And some of them, I have to admit, and I'm thinking of one, like the company of women as well. So
good
there's
grief.
new friendships that,
Okay.
And it's
The
and
old
why
saying,
not?
it's never too late.
Exactly.
Right? We're talking about
Exactly.
grown-ups here, for crying
Yes.
out loud.
Well,
So there you go.
Very grown up.
One of the things I would draw people's attention to, especially the boomer kids, is a recognition that mom or dad may not feel like they can be released from the responsibility of passing that inheritance along.
Absolutely.
So they could feel bound by just their heartfelt desire to bless you boomer kids or grandkids, which is with as much wealth as they are able to leave
and
you.
they'd rather live in discomfort to make sure that you got even more dough.
So don't believe them when they say, I'm doing fine.
Right.
Well, fine is fine, but there is a lot better out there than just fine. And we care enough about our parents to desire for them to have a great life, not just to go through and have a long life. We want them to have an amazing long life.
Well, thank goodness at least you're talking about a character type of boomer that shares those concerns, because the other side of that coin, regrettably, is the selfish boomer who doesn't care where mom and dad end up as long as they don't spend my inheritance.
Yeah.
And that's unbelievably
Well,
selfish.
fortunately for me, me and my siblings, we're all doing fairly well in life, and we've said to Mom, you need to spend some of this money.
That's right.
You already bless us with Christmas gifts and gifts for the kids and grandkids. That's all that that is a really nicety from you. The rest of it should be about what you've worked hard your whole life for. Don't worry about us kids. But it's very important to have that intentional conversation to remove that barrier of expectation.
Right. And Jillian, when we come back, we're going to take a break here, but when we come back, I want to talk about the economics, the number crunching that as we're being responsible boomer kids, and we're going to present this case for consideration to mom or dad to consider a seniors retirement community as an alternative to what they're in now, then we're going to have to crunch all the numbers. As Shawn said, we must arrive well armed for this particular conversation, particularly if we know we're going to be challenged. So we'll talk about the numbers and why you're so insistent upon kicking the tires and doing some comparison shopping. Okay?
Oh, I think that's important.
Okay.
I agree with you.
Lots more for boomer kids and everybody else here on SeaIsle 650 coming right up.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on SeaIsle 650.